Welcome to another U.S. Freedom Fighters podcast. Please enjoy the show.
Welcome to another U.S. Freedom Fighters podcast. Today we got a special guest, Michael Gardner from the Patriot Angle podcast. He's the founder. Welcome, Michael.
How you doing, Brad? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing really good. So I just wanted to ask you a few things that I've been reading on, see what your take is on them.
Sure.
I've been reading a lot about the bird flu in Canada, which seems to be coming into the U.S. a little bit. What are your thoughts on that?
The bird flu. Yeah. I actually read on this article myself about a couple days ago, and I had a piece on my show on this. And, my views on it, man, is, are we going back to another 2015? Because we seen this in 2015. And for your viewers and your listeners and followers of the show, I'm not sure if they remember that event in 2015. It damn near bankrupt the entire farming industry with chickens and turkeys all over the Midwest. We've seen this happen in Ohio, Iowa, farms all over the country affected, almost, what was it? At the time, it was about like 40 million chickens and turkeys.
Yeah.
Brad, are we seeing the same effect? I mean, what's going on?
I feel like we are. I do remember that myself. I know the media did not touch on it back then, and they still aren't really touching on it now. But, they just had to kill 12,000 turkeys in Canada because of the bird flu. I've been reading some articles that they have birds that are falling out of the sky in Mexico because of the bird flu. And I've also heard that it's spreading into, United States and chickens and such. So, I mean, I really feel like we are going to the same path, and I really feel like it might be a lot worse than it was before.
Yeah, that's crazy. And what's crazy too is, they still have them on the shelves. I still see chicken on the shelves. I still see turkeys, frozen turkeys or whatnot, in the stores. So I hope they caught it in enough time, because I do understand, when you freeze something, Brad, it does preserve the meat to an extension of time.
Right.
So, I mean, I hope these birds that are, on the shelves in grocery stores, it didn't affect them. And this was before. So we want to know, like, where this happened, when it happened, and how much more it's going to be affected. Because, I mean, it's poultry, Brad. We need this for our body, right?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the proteins in chicken, everybody knows. Everybody should know that. I mean, the proteins in chickens are very high. So, I mean, it's really good meat to eat. So the whole threat of maybe there's going to be a shortage in, turkeys, chicken, and such like that is, I mean, it's a scary thought. I was reading an article that Tyson, which everybody should know Tyson, I mean, they're all over the United States. They're reporting 250,000 birds that are sick from the flu right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I did read that. I read a similar article here in the Atlanta Journal, which is in Georgia here, that David Perdue, right? The big chicken man, right? Here in Georgia, they're being affected in the Tyson plants here in Georgia. I mean, David Perdue, I mean, he pretty much owns like 80% of, Tyson Foods. I mean, it's crazy, Brad. It really is.
Oh, it is. And it's so scary to think about that this stuff is going on. But here's another question on there. I mean, do you think that maybe this is something that was purposely put out there? I mean, do you think this is part of the whole food shortage scare of everything? They did this because they want to keep the food shortage going?
Propaganda. That's my words towards it. It's all about media propaganda. Propaganda, Brad, is we're seeing those words being played out very loosely in today's society. It's all about politics to them. It always has been. Fear mongering, control, right? Whether it's population control or, you just mentioned, is it a scare towards the food shortage? Yeah and no, maybe not. I think it has to do with a lot of fear mongering. We're coming up to, playing politics into it. We're coming up to the midterms, right?
Yeah.
They need more fear mongering, Brad. It's simple as that,
Oh yeah, and every time there's any kind of election coming up, it happens every time with different things. I mean, it could be food shortages, it could be, grain shortages, it could be all sorts of different things. And
Yeah.
they do it every time. It's always something. And this last time, COVID was a big fear mongering thing. That's my opinion. I really think they blew it out of proportion. They really did, just to put the fear into the people and to kind of steer their votes to wherever they wanted them.
Yeah. But their baby COVID, their weapon, they're losing it, Brad. They know that. They know they can't play that same game. When was the last time we seen Dr. Doom there, Fauci, go on the record and start, labeling more fear? It's been about a month now. We haven't seen him on the radar, so to speak, anymore.
Yeah, no, I haven't read nothing. I haven't seen anything about him. Which really, I mean, think about that. Why? Because exactly what you're saying. It's slowing down. The fear mongering slowing down, and it's just not affecting people the way it was in the beginning. People are waking up and seeing what's going on. I mean, at least I hope they are.
Yeah. I mean, you don't see too many of the the COVID scoreboards anymore. They don't plug that on the media anymore because people are understanding. It takes. You don't need a medical PhD to understand this. It's all simple common sense, Brad. It takes more than 24 hours to analyze a death certificate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you want to touch on that topic? I can go into that topic very into depth. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I'm willing to touch into that topic if you want to. I mean, there's so much to that.
I mean, you got like these COVID deaths, what they call, COVID scoreboards, right? We've seen them for like the last year and a half, right? Everybody, the cases are going up, the deaths and this and that. I'm like, what the hell are these people talking about? First of all, you got a population. Look at the population, the average population in a state. Compare that to the scoreboard that they're showing on CNN, Fox, or whatever, right? Yep. It doesn't add up, Brad. It doesn't add up. The numbers aren't adding up. You're trying to tell me that all of a sudden there's 45,000 people more in the last, I understand. There's, babies are born every single day. But, I had this topic in this conversation with Jerry, and Jerry and I spinned off on this topic a few episodes back on my show. It doesn't add up. They're saying that there's 200,000 people that died out of so many people in that city or that town. Okay, so then there should be like 10,000 people less in that town? No, I don't believe it.
No, I don't either. Like I've been watching the numbers here in my home state, and I live in a small state up in the north, and they're claiming all these numbers, but then you kind of look at where the deaths are at, and it just nothing adds up. Nothing does.
No.
And they're still pushing that the hospitals are full and everything else. And I don't know about the rest of the country, but here where I live, hospitals are not full. They're not full of COVID patients. They're not full of anything really. And they're still saying on our local news that hospitals are full, but I don't see it. I've been into the hospitals. I haven't seen anything being full or anything like that. So it doesn't make any sense to me. There's such a number hike on everything. And I really think that's a money thing because I don't know if it's necessarily true, but what I had heard is every, positive COVID case they have in a hospital, they kind of get paid a percentage toward it by the states or by the government. I don't know if it's true. It's something I've heard. But I wouldn't put it past our government. I wouldn't put it past any state. I mean, I live in a very highly democratic state, so who knows what we're going to see. And
well, I could tell you what they're full of. They're full of shit.
oh yeah, they're full of bullshit. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's most every state too. I hate to say it. I mean, I'm more right leaning than obviously left leaning and stuff like that. But I feel like there's on both sides there's corruption. There on both sides there's shit that you just can't believe. Period. So I'm very big skeptic on both sides. Yes, I believe a lot more right leaning stuff. The liberals are just I don't even know what to say about them. But
Yeah.
it I don't know. This whole political thing that's going on is just insane. And I think, COVID was a definite political move in the last election, like we were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's getting tired of it, Brad. I mean, it's what, 2022 now, almost like we're almost in the third month of 2022. We've been battling with this crap since, the early year of 2020, right? I mean, come on. All right, guys, it's a virus. It's bacteria. I think we're all, grown ass adults, grown men, grown women. We know to wash our hands. We know to stay 6 feet away from somebody if somebody's sick. You don't need the federal government teaching you that. You don't need political hacks of doctors teaching you that from the CDC. You get taught that when you're a simple child.
Yeah.
I mean, have we become a society, Brad, of simple-minded assholes? I mean,
I mean, I really hate to say it, but I think so. I mean, we grew up in different times. Today's world, things have changed so freaking much. People are a bunch of pussies, to be honest with you. And they believe everything that's fed to them through the media. I mean, they believe everything, and it's bullshit, honestly. We grew up in different times.
Yeah. Yeah, you see that at the times, even with the work ethic today. Oh, it's terrible.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, even with my job, the turnover rate of people that come through, it's insane. And a lot of the people that are getting hired into my job, they're in their early 20s, and they're lasting 2 to 3 weeks. And I have a physically demanding job, so, and I'm in my mid 30s, and I outwork these people that are in their 20s. There's no reason that should be happening, honestly.
Well, because they're all spoon fed. They grew up in mommy and daddy's basement eating Hot Pockets and playing video games until they were 24, 25 years old. So
yeah. No,
and you mentioned
crazy.
The turnover rate, man. It's pretty sad. You go to companies like big box giants, such as Walmart and Amazon and, UPS and Publix and stuff like that. And they actually have boards, Brad, where they show you the turnover rate. That's sad.
Oh, no, that is sad. Extremely sad. Really. It is. Another thing I've been thinking about, we all know about the trucker protests that were going on in Canada, which is kind of past now, but it's starting to leak into the US a little bit. I mean, are we going to see a big impact on that, you think?
Yes and no. I have two sides of that topic. I don't think that they're going to push it as much as they did in Ottawa and Toronto, as much as they are doing it now, because you have different viewpoints from two different types of leaders. You have, as we know, Canada is a parliamentary type of system. We have a constitutional republic here in the United States. It's two different systems. It's two different kind of political viewpoints. With the Canadian truckers, it was more or less basically fighting not only to keep their jobs, but fighting to bypass the jab, so to speak. And they're also dealing with a prime minister almost acting as if he was like Fidel Castro, during the time of his reign in Cuba, so Are we dealing with that here in the United States? Similar, yes. But with the parliamentary system, it's different than a constitutional republic. Constitutional republic, you can't vote out your leadership. You can, but you have to wait 4 years.
Right.
In a parliamentary system, you can vote that out in, a matter of weeks after a prime minister is elected. So they have a lot more options on their hand. Is it going to get played out here in the United States? I don't think so, Brad. I think it's going to be like maybe a week, possibly 2. They're going to get the media pumping. CNN is going to be, raging about some kind of horse crap that just doesn't make sense like they always do. Like, oh my God, this is insurrection. You're going to hear that, that's just the crap that you're going to hear. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that goes along with what we were saying about fear mongering. That's kind of what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an opinion too. I mean, it might go worse. We don't know. We really don't know. I know here at US Freedom Fighters, we kind of think about, the possibilities of what might happen, no matter what the possibility is. And we try to train in that possibility of what we think and what we should do, basically, in a survival situation if we need to, talking about, like the bird flu and stuff. That's might possibly make a food shortage. US Freedom Fighters, we kind of teach how to hopefully get past that food shortage by, raising our own chickens, raising our own turkeys, or growing our own food and such. I've been hearing a little bit of rumor with the Canada stuff that they're kind of almost declaring martial law. It's not quite fully in effect, but there's been some talk about it. Have you heard anything about that at all?
Yeah, it's definitely happening. They are in the early stages of what they would call a martial law. The Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, is basically orchestrating his police forces, mainly in Ottawa and Toronto. It's basically the sections of Canada that's basically affecting. It's not necessarily affecting the western part of the country, more or less the eastern part of the country. Orchestrating his police forces, Ottawa, Toronto, using horseback.
Yep.
Demanding and reinforcing its citizens and putting them in what's called red zones, which I basically plugged in on my website and also my social media of video content of what's shown of where these police forces, mainly on horseback, are trampling its citizens, and there's no remorse for it. No remorse from the Prime Minister. It's happening every day, Brad. The martial law is real right now in Canada. They're basically stripping their rights away. They're not allowing them to go to places such as coffee shops. They're setting up, Brad, what's called a red zone, which is a restriction. You cannot go there. It's terrible.
And, that's scary because, they're so close to us in reality. Like where I live, it takes me 2 hours to get to Canada.
Yeah. It's a hop, skip, and jump for you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, it's not just happening in Canada either. We're seeing it all over the place, all over the world. Australia, I hear some rumors going on. There's stuff going on in Australia. I don't look a lot into that stuff because I try to stay away from it a little bit, trying to keep my mind clear for, what I think needs to be done in my own personal life. So I haven't looked into it much, but I've been hearing rumor about Australia doing a very similar thing that Canada's doing. And I'm also hearing a rumor that, they're kind of saying that the United States is only a couple weeks behind what Australia is doing. And they're thinking that, Australia is doing these certain things and they think the United States is going to do it within the next couple of weeks. I don't know if you've read into anything or heard anything about that.
Yeah, I see some stuff, pop up on the internet. I mainly get all my my articles from Breitbart. I love them. It's basically a lot of truth, coming out of that news network. So yeah, I mean, I've been hearing some stuff, kind of stirring up, in the pot, so to speak, with that. I don't know, Brad. It's still early, like they, yeah, it's still early. It's hard to tell.
No, it is. I was reading something today, actually about Biden trying to extend the State of Emergency Act, basically making it an open-ended duration, to basically so he can keep it open as long as he wants, because we've been under a state of emergency basically since the beginning of COVID. And from now, they're trying to extend it even longer. And he basically just opened up the end of it and said, we don't have an actual date. It's to be determined, basically. I mean, that to me is a little bit suspicious. I don't know. So, I don't trust it.
So you're saying that he's got the date open, but he doesn't have an official date of when it ends.
Right. That's what I'm hearing. He doesn't have any date set for when it ends. So basically, it's extended out for as long as time can be, basically, in a sense.
Well, if history's shown to be correct, Brad, I mean, that's early signs of forms of martial law.
Right.
Martial law is when people think of martial law, Brad, they always think of the average martial law, symptoms, if you want to call it that, or signs. Some people call it martial law. Could be anything.
Yeah,
martial law can be forms of communism, socialism.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that's scary about it, and we don't know what it means in a sense.
Yeah.
We've never really had to deal with it. We've all heard about it, but we don't know what it entails. Are they going to come door to door and take our guns? A good possibility of it. Are they going to come door to door and start shooting people? Who knows? I don't know. No one knows.
Yeah.
And it's scary. Yeah. And the whole thing that I had heard, like I said, I don't know if it's 100% true about this, but it's something I was reading today about him and extending it and saying it's open-ended. And like you're just saying, that's a sign of that martial law could be coming into effect. And what you see going on in Canada and Australia and stuff, I mean, it really starts making you question what is going on in the United States. Is it actually going to happen here? I mean, there's a good possibility of it.
Yeah, it's a good possibility. If I may plug in something here on your show, we're talking about this, martial law. We're talking about, pretty much in-depth intelligence levels of, what could happen. There is a good friend of the podcast, on my podcast, Patriot Angle Podcast, a contributor that we have on the show from time to time. And you may want to talk to him on the side on this issue. PJ Agnes of Archangel Protective Intelligence, he pretty much knows everything. He has been calling the shots on this COVID hysteria since the beginning, and has been labeled right from the get-go. But I just wanted to plug that in. I thought that was kind of wise information for this topic here.
Yeah, no, I'd love to talk to him. I mean, if you can get me in contact with him, I'd love to talk to him a little bit and maybe try to get him in on a show, or all of us get on a show and do some talking.
Yeah, because I mean, he's a great aspect to my show. I'm sure he would be a very, very good aspect to your show. And I mean, he's a very knowledgeable man when it comes to talking about politics and stuff like that.
Yep. And I know, you know how we are. We at US Freedom Fighters, we kind of steer clear of politics and a lot of times. But I also want to put it out there that, you always want to keep an eye on stuff that's going on around you, whether it be political or survival and all sorts of different things. So you always want to keep an open mind into politics. I'm not saying sit there and follow it 100%, because a lot of the stuff that's out there is not true. You know it as well as I do. There's a lot of fake media out there. It's hard to depict what's true and what's not anymore. But you always want to kind of keep an eye on it and maybe form your own opinion on it. But I also think we really need to think about focusing on the survival side of everything. Because, if martial law does come into effect, what are you going to do? Are you just going to bow down to the man and do what they say? Or are you going to defend yourself and survive? I mean, that's a big question. A lot of people, I personally think that a lot of people in the United States, the way the world's been going the last, I'll even say, 5, 10 years, we've been progressively getting worse in a lot of ways. So I really think that a lot of people in the world, or even the United States, everywhere, are basically just going to bow down to what the man's saying, and they're going to follow what they're doing. That's my opinion. Like with the COVID, I really think that was a scare tactic, and it was trying to get to see. They're trying to get to see how people are going to react to that. So the bigger plan might come into play. I think it was just a thing to kind of test the waters in a sense.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you come down to it, Brad, the average, American now these days, they don't have survival skills. If it came down to something as simple as, losing their job and trying to, figure out what to do next, half the people, sadly, in this country wouldn't know what to do. They would be looking at one another with 5 different heads and, oh, what do we do now? What do you do now? Like, what?
Yeah,
it's sad. It really is.
Oh no, it absolutely is. And you kind of brought up something that makes me think about something else. I mean, the left's really been pushing for free college tuition and this and that. And, a sad part of the United States is the trades are dying. Construction trades, I mean, mechanics, stuff like that. That stuff is dying because of college. And, that sounds crazy and all, but these college degrees that people are doing, like being an engineer or a doctor or this or that, if we were to do free tuition to college and stuff, everybody's going to do it. So guess what's going to happen? You're not going to have anybody that wants to build a house or put in a septic system or, just anything you can think of. There's so many trades out there that no one's going to want to do anymore because, you know what? I got free college. I just learned how to be a doctor. I can make this much money. Why would I want to be a construction trade? The whole thing with the left-leaning people wanting a free college and everything, I really feel like is a bad idea because I really think it's going to kill the trades. And if you don't have the trades, the world's not going to go around. I mean, in simple terms.
Yeah, you're right about that. But try telling that to, the Amish communities in, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, or in Ohio. They don't believe in college. They don't believe in modern technology. Hell, you won't even see them riding a Greyhound bus unless they absolutely have to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you know what? They're surviving perfectly fine. And they're happy.
They've been doing it for what? 300, 400, 500 years? I mean,
yeah, and they're happy doing it. Happy. I mean, there's a few that leave, but a good majority of Amish people stay within their community. And that's kind of like here at US Freedom Fighters, we're trying to build a community and try to do that, kind of similar thing. Learn how to live off from what you have around you, live off the land, learn how to survive without all this technology, without all this government, without, everything.
Live within your means, I say, not above your means.
Yeah. And that's the problem with the United States. We all live with it above our means. I mean, personally, I do. I hate it to admit to it, but I live above my means. I make so much money, but I always tend to live above my means. So I'm always feel like I'm broke. I'm not necessarily broke. I make decent money, but you know what? I feel like I need this TV or I need this Xbox or I need this or that. And I don't need that stuff. Why do I feel like I need that stuff? Well, it's the generation we grew up in.
We tend to be spoon-fed from our parents, and it's true.
It's sad, I mean, nowadays, people are way more spoon-fed than we were when we were children, in my opinion. But we still grew up in the technology age, so we really are technically spoon-fed. I mean, you go back to our grandparents or our great-grandparents, they worked every day, or they worked on their own land to survive.
They had to. There was no such thing as credit cards.
Right. And, that's a dying thing. And if the government decides, hey, we're going to fuck everybody a little flip of the switch, guess what? You have no money. I mean, they're trying to make everything digital. Cold hard cash is not even really a thing anymore. Unfortunately, I mean, you have credit cards, you have this, that. All they got to do is flip a switch, and guess what? All that shit's gone. So what are you going to do in that situation? A lot of these people aren't going to be able to do shit because they don't know what to do. Me, myself, I live in the country. I grew up on, old morals and stuff about, fishing, hunting, and stuff like that to survive. But you know what? Like you live in a city. I mean, that's not going to be an easy thing to do.
No, because well, the city, but Brad, the city's always been the city, like no matter where you go, even back you look at your history books, you look at like the early 1800s, 1700s, there was still inner cities. So the name city, a little history lesson for your show, the name city basically was the more or less the agritone, if you want to call it that, to these smaller towns or the villages. They didn't have what the cities had. The cities always had, the better equipment, the better, built of buildings, right? The better construction. The towns and the villages, they didn't have all that because they weren't really designed for that to begin with. The villages and the towns were the areas where, you work, you put in that 8, 10, 12, 14 hours, whatever it was. And then you would go to the city to basically get more of an advanced knowledge, so to speak, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. It really does. And, that's been happening for a long time, cities and such. But the problem is you got a lot of people that only have that mindset of a city now, which is, I mean, to me, I'm out in the country, so I don't quite understand this whole city life. I'll admit it. But to me, I mean, you got the knowledge of a city, you know how to, live in a city, but what happens if that city's not there for you? If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's going to happen more or less. I mean, we are going backwards in time.
Oh, absolutely.
It's going to happen. We are going to, pretty much become what they're calling, the Great Reset. It's going to happen. Sadly, we're going to go back to times where people are going to have to rely on, growing their crops, and they're going to have to learn to do that, because if they don't learn to do that, Brad, they're going to starve, they're going to die.
Yeah. And to me, that's just a scary thing. I mean, us here at US Freedom Fighters, we're trying to help as many people as we can, whether you live in the city or in the country. Like I say, I live in the country, so I have knowledge on a lot of things, fishing, hunting, and stuff. But you know what? I still don't have the knowledge to be able to survive perfectly, in my opinion. There's so much information out there that you really could learn about survival. And that goes for country boys, and that goes for city folk. I mean, city folk might have a different way of surviving if shit were to hit the fan. If there's a food shortage and stuff like that. Being out in the country, I kind of think about, the city people, a lot of them might not know how to hunt and fish or grow their own food. So my opinion on what might happen is the city people are going to turn to stealing. They're going to go to people that have food supplies or have been prepping for a while, and they're going to try to steal what these other people have worked toward.
Well, I mean, that's where the looting comes from. That's where the stealing comes from. Obviously, yes, because they're so. It's almost like two different types of worlds, so to speak. When you live in a city versus out in the country. In the city, everything is there for you. Restaurant, retail, everything, modern transportation. Out in the country, you don't have that. Yeah, you have your restaurants, you have, maybe some minor transportation, but it's to a limit. And it's like that, Brad, because it was designed like that.
Yeah.
That's what separates the city and the country. The country was never intended to be a city. It was intended to be a town or a village.
Yeah.
Two different worlds, way
Oh, yeah.
different. Yeah.
Oh, no, absolutely. And, that's another division within the United States. I mean, you got the people that are used to the city, you got the people that are used to the country.
Yeah.
The thing is, all of us U.S. citizens need to learn how to work together, whether you're city or country. You might have knowledge that might help me out in a survival situation. I might have knowledge that will help you out. That's the thing. We've lost that in the United States. Community used to be a big thing. Neighbors and everything else would help each other out. Nowadays, you can't find that, and it's so freaking sad. I don't even know how to feel about it. Back when I was growing up, I knew all my neighbors around. Nowadays, I don't even know my next door neighbor really.
Well, you got to blame it on yourselves. Everybody wants to blame technology and blame the government and this. What it comes down to is, it comes down to ourselves as a whole.
Oh, no, absolutely it does.
We've always been that same person, but we've been so conditioned now in our society where, no one wants to sit at the dinner table anymore, Brad. No one wants to sit as a family, and if we do, what comes out right away? The devices, the cell phones, I could tell you just last year for Thanksgiving, you know how many people at the dinner table, when I went over to see family, how many cell phones came out right away?
I believe it.
You would think the prayer would come out, Brad, but no, the cell phones came out right away.
I know. I believe it. Yeah, I mean, you bring that up. I go into restaurants and stuff, and this might be a little strict thing that I grew up on, but back in the day, you respected people around you. You took your hat off to eat in a restaurant or even to eat, period. And you know what? I go into these restaurants and I see people wearing hats. I see people on their phones. I see people doing this. And, they got people sitting right across from them and they're on their phone. Like, why don't you communicate with the person you're with instead of being on your phone? I don't understand it, I guess. Because to me, I grew up in a time that, you're at the dinner table. That was time to spend time with your family or friends or whoever you're with and talk with them and enjoy a meal and stuff like that. But nowadays, like you're just saying, people are pulling their cell phones out and they're not even talking to each other. I mean, even the intermediate family, your cousins, your everything, that's lost. I mean, when I grew up, me and my cousins would go outside on Thanksgiving, go play, screw around in the yard. Nowadays, people are on their phones, just like you're just saying.
We've become a digital civilization. A digital society of a species. We're more, we're almost like more Android-like, more more digital-like than human beings. It's sad.
No,
it really is.
And I'm sure you are. Well, we are. We're on a podcast right now. We're guilty of it, both of us. I mean, technology has taken us all over. And, I'm guilty of it every day. I mean, I get drawn into my phone. You get drawn into your phone, I'm sure. Everybody does. I just really hope people learn to steer away from that stuff a little bit and learn a little bit about the survival life.
Well,
go camping for a weekend. Put your devices away. Go camping for a weekend. Enjoy life.
Well, here's the thing, Brad. You just mentioned we're on a podcast, right? Yeah, we're recording a podcast, right? But here's the thing: even though we're recording a podcast, it's digital, right? At the end, you have to feel good about it because you're enlightening somebody. You're waking somebody up. Hopefully, you're putting some knowledge in their head. Maybe they didn't understand something, before that we maybe possibly mentioned on the show tonight. Like there's so much knowledge, I think, that comes out of podcasting. I could tell you, I listen to hundreds of different podcasts, whether it's science, political, cooking, entertainment, wrestling, everything, all different ones. And there is so much knowledge in podcasting now that, it's like back in the day when YouTube first came out, right? The tutorial, the step-by-step type videos, right? It taught you how to do things. People didn't know how to lay brick or tile. You watch a YouTube video and boom, you learn it in a couple minutes. Podcasting the same way, you're learning knowledge that you didn't know, so you got to be grateful that,
Oh, no, I'm absolutely grateful of freaking technology because I've learned a lot from YouTube or podcasts or any of that stuff. Even Facebook, I hate to admit it, but there's things I've learned on Facebook. And technology, I'm not saying it's all bad. That's not where I'm really going with it. There is a lot to learn on technology, but a lot of times, you can watch a YouTube video, and I'll just throw it out there about fishing, say. And you can watch the video, but if you don't go out and practice that, you'll never actually learn how to do it. So people need to realize that when they're looking at stuff on technology. Yeah, you're watching a video, great, but go out and teach yourself how to do that. And I'm guilty of it. I had to fix my car or something, and I couldn't quite remember how to do it, or I didn't know how to do it. So I went on YouTube, looked it up. But you know what? I went out and did it. And I learned how to do it. And you remember from learning. Hands-on is one of the best learning tools out there, in my opinion. So that's what you really got to remember with technology is the technology is going to show you how to do it, but you got to learn how to do that muscle memory, basically, or your brain memory, how to do it by being hands-on.
Yeah, I want to make a quote here. I know this is going to kind of probably sound corny, but it does probably show a lot of reference to what we're talking about. Quoting, from the movie Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility, right? I mean, that could be related to the technology today. With great power, Brad, comes great responsibility. Use it responsibly. Don't use it or don't excessively use it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That makes 100%.
Because if you over excessive it, excuse me, I'm losing my words here, but if you overly excess it, it's going to take over your mindset. And I think that's what's going on. I think it's way too late. I think we reached the breaking point, the do not pass go on the Monopoly board, 5-10 years ago. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, I agree.
The people today, it's like, am I talking to a human being or am I talking to a robot, to an avatar?
Oh, no. And, I see that in everyday life. I see somebody really engulfed in their phone and I might say something to them, ask them a question or whatever. And they just sit there blankly and don't answer me because they're so involved in that phone. They're not even listening to what I'm saying. And I'm sitting right next to them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane. I got this coworker. He's super addicted to TikTok. You can't say shit to him when he's fucking watching TikTok because he won't hear you.
Yeah.
Open your mind up to the outside world. Don't get lost in technology. That's all I'm trying to say about it.
Yeah,
technology
the TikTok
is nice.
Man. Huh?
Technology is nice. I mean,
oh yeah,
we can go look up whatever we want on Google or whatever and learn about it, but don't let it take over your life.
Yeah, you mentioned the TikToking, man. It's like I did a piece the other day on my show with Twitch, right? The online gaming.
Yep.
And this guy was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and Joe Rogan was questioning him about, hey man, what's the benefits of online gaming and this and that? And he's like, oh, you can make a fortune, man, and this and that. And, it totally changed my life. And, I make more money, doing Twitch than my regular full-time job. And I mean, Joe Rogan laughing, he's like, come on, man, it's only a gig job. Apparently another Twitch streamer had listened into his podcast and literally went overboard on it. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is the greatest thing that ever launched in the universe. And I'm like, oh my God, social media, the internet, it's taking over people's minds. I mean, look what it's doing to these poor guys. You know, they're almost 40 years old and they're playing video games. Come on, man, go get a job.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, it really is a scary thought. I mean,
like what happens, like, yeah, I mean, you know, I'm sorry to cut you off, but like what happens if, you know, like you said, shit hits the fan and, you know, something really happens and you have to play survival game, you know, and what are you going to do? Like take out your phone and say like how to start a fire. You know what I mean? Like you should know how to start a fire, you know, don't take your phone out. I mean, shit, get some branches, you know what I mean? Come on.
Yeah, and that goes right along with what I say. You know, you watch YouTube and stuff like that, and you know there might be people looking up how to start a fire on YouTube, and they're like, "Oh, I know how to start a fire," and never use it, never try. And then they get in that.
Brad, that should have been taught to you when you were a kid, man. You shouldn't have to pull out the device. That's what I'm trying to say, though.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, I grew up. My dad taught me this stuff, you know, but nowadays, you know, parents. I mean, really don't teach it anymore because, you know, I'm 35. I grew up when technology was getting strong and stuff like that. And I bring my kids out and teach them a lot of stuff, but I also see a lot of parents out there that don't teach their children this stuff.
Yeah.
And these children might have to rely on the technology. And it's sad. I mean, to me, I mean, yeah, you can watch a video. But again, you go out there with your dad or your mother or whoever, and they show you personally hands-on, you're going to learn a lot more from that than watching a video on YouTube because they're going to let you be a hands-on. But that's a lost thing again, too. I don't know how you were growing up and stuff, but, you know, my parents taught me a lot of lessons, whether, you know, start a fire and all this other stuff, but they also taught me respect. You know, if I got out of line, I got my ass whooped. Plain and simple. Yeah. And you know what, to me, nowadays, now I look back on it, yeah, you know, like at that time I might have cried and been all pissed off at my parents and blah, 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 blah. But now that I have my own children and stuff and I see a good way of how I was when I was a child, I understand what I got. I really do. I mean, I got my ass whooped a few times, well, more than a few times, but you know what? I deserve 95% of what I got, in my opinion.
Yeah. I wish the discipline was like that in today's society.
And it's not. And you see it. That's the problem. And that's where a lot of, I mean, not to point fingers, but that's where you see a lot of these lefties, liberals now. It's because they never got their fucking ass whooped as a kid. Plain and simple. That's my opinion. I might be wrong, but that's how I feel about it.
Bunch of crybabies, little snowflakes, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, my dad was teaching me, you know, you're a young man. You don't fucking cry. You're not a little bitch. You know, you're tough. You're a guy. And nowadays, people don't even know if they're a guy or a fucking girl, for Christ's sakes.
Oh my God, it's terrible. You like I was in the bathroom the other day and this I don't know if how we're supposed to say it, right? Because we live in a politically correct society. A hermaphrodite, he, she, or something walked into the bathroom, and I'm like, "Oh, whoa! What are you doing?" And he or she or whatever it was, and you know, I'm using the bathroom. I said, "The ladies' room is next door."
Yeah.
I totally offended the person because, you know, the person's like, I'm a man, but I mean, apparently it wasn't. It had a, you know, set of boobs and everything else. But I mean,
I don't know about you. I don't know if you have any children or not, but like,
I got a daughter. She's 15. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I have 6 children. I have 5 girls, but I can tell you what, if I have a freaking guy that thinks they're a woman going into a freaking girl's bathroom, I'm not going to feel comfortable with my daughter being in there. I mean, that's my opinion. And I might be wrong for feeling that, but I don't want no guy following my fucking daughter into a bathroom. No.
I was going to say, we might have to bail you out after the ending of that part, huh?
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. I still feel comfortable with it, but we grew up in different times, too. I mean, we got to remember that. This stuff to us is new. But to me, I also feel like, you know, touching on this a little bit, our education system's really at fault in a lot of ways of this stuff. And I'm not
Sure.
saying, not just saying schools, but there's so much different ways to educate people these days. Internet.
Society's broken, Brad. It's it's going to take a long time to, pretty much recover this country. I mean, because this country's been Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid on this country. The wounds, I mean, they just keep on opening up, because we elect the wrong leadership. And this is the type of voters that vote for this crap. They want the government taking care of them. They want the handouts. They want the food stamps. They want all that, the food stamps, the welfare, the public, the Section 8 housing, all this crap, Medicaid. They want all that. They don't want to live in a society where, you bust your knuckles open, bust your ass for like 9, 10, 12 hours. You put money into the society, you make a living. Because at the end of it, Brad, you got a nice life. You get a nice little pension out of it,
Yeah. And you know what? Me being a person that works every day, I mean, I've collected 1 week of unemployment my whole life. That's just because I moved down south and, shit was hard for me at the time, but literally 1 week of unemployment. And I'm not talking down unemployment or any of this stuff that people that have hard times and stuff like that. But I just feel like a lot of worth ethic is lost in today's generation. I mean, I know me growing up, my dad hounded me, to work. And I think part of that is because my father never graduated high school. And so that's all he knew how to do was work. And, he really instilled that in me. It's I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's hard. People today just don't want to work the way we were raised to work back in the day. People try to fall on top of that education too, like with college and stuff. We're talking about the trades and stuff. People want to become doctors, engineers, and this and that, which is great. We need that stuff, but we also need that other stuff. So, if you're going to college and learning to be an engineer, why the hell do you frown on a person that wants to become, wants to be in the construction trade or a truck driver, or any of this stuff? I mean, that's another part of the, people look down on people for doing other jobs. And
well, you know what they say, Brad, the best generation was, from the late 80s to the early 60s. That was the best generation.
Yep. No. And you know what? I grew up, I was born in the late 80s. So, I mean, I agree with it. I mean, in a way. And I hate to say that because, I want to see everybody succeed, but well,
don't be afraid to say it. I mean, it's true. I mean you got a bunch of, little crybabies out there that are afraid to, put 2 hours in. After 2 hours, they're like, is it break time yet? What?
Yeah. Yeah. And that, like I was saying earlier, in my job, I'm in a construction trade. I'm actually service chimneys, sweep chimneys. We build chimneys. We do all sorts of chimney work.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's good money in that, really, to be honest with you. I mean, I make a really good wage. But we get a lot of these younger people in there, that are 18, 19 years old. And they last like 2 weeks because they can't handle the work. Like, I'm in my mid-30s and I have no problem with it. You shouldn't have any problem with it if you're in you're 18, 19, 20. But the problem is they've been raised in front of that TV. They've been raised in front of that tablet, that freaking cell phone, all that stuff.
Yeah.
They weren't sent outside to go play. They weren't sent outside to go, build a fort in the woods or something like that. Today's generation is just, I hate to say it, but it's just, they're just lost. They're lost. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
I'm so grateful. Yeah, exactly, man. I'm so grateful that, like when I was a kid, we did Boy Scouts, right? So I learned all my, my survival traits, the stuff, I called it the normal stuff, the boy becoming a man type of stuff. That was normal back then. Like when you kind of graduated from Boy Scouts, you went into, what was it? Cub Scouts. You graduated from Cub Scouts and you went into Boy Scouts, right? That was like the teenage years. That's when they were teaching you how to become a man, like what you're talking about, what your show, what your group page, what your Facebook content's all about, like US freedom fighters, like survival, right? I mean, that's what you were taught about. You were taught about survival traits, building a campfire, putting up a tent, building a tree house. I mean, learning how to hunt, I mean, yeah. And then you little fun stuff on the side, pinewood derbies and stuff like that. But Brad, when was the last time that's being taught right now in even Boy Scouts? Now they're like teaching about like gay awareness type of crap. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, I know. And we still call it the Boy Scouts, but you know what? Remember a couple years back where they were complaining that girls couldn't join the Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
What the hell? We had Girl Scouts. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on there?
Yeah. Stop teaching about gender awareness and start teaching about what they're supposed to be teaching about. Cut that gender awareness bullshit out, because that's what's destroying this society.
Yeah. And I'm not discriminating against anybody. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, I'm not either, but I mean, it's bullshit, Brad.
It really is. I mean, to me, we grew up in a time that, and, anybody that's listening, excuse me for saying this, but you either grew up with a dick or you grew up with a freaking vagina. I should say, I mean, plain and simple, you're a guy or a girl. I mean, that's it. And, when you're born, you have that trait. They tell you, oh, this is a boy. Oh, this is a girl. Nowadays, it's like, oh, to be determined, basically. What the hell does that mean? I don't know about you, but I'm raising my kids to their gender. I'm not raising my daughter to be a boy. You know what I mean?
You said to be determined?
Right. I mean, that's basically what it comes out now. I mean, on birth certificates and stuff, like they let them decide whether their child is a freaking male or female, or they let their child decide. I'm sorry. I mean, you're born the way you're born. You're either a male or a female. Get over it. That's my opinion.
That's something you hear like on a sitcom, to be determined, like to be continued.
Well, I know, but you know what I'm saying, right? I mean, that's how it is today. It really is. That's how it is. I mean, I was reading an article not so long ago about these people that had a child, and the child got to be a certain age where they can kind of almost think for themselves, and apparently that child decided to be a boy.
Yeah.
I mean, what the hell happened to us? Back in the day, you grew up. I mean, you were born. You either, like I said, like I just said, and I was being vague about it. You had a male private or you had a female private. That was your gender. What the hell happened to that? I guess I'm lost. I don't understand it. That's me. I don't know. I could be completely on the wrong. But to me, I mean, there's two genders, and that's where it is at, period. I mean, I don't know what your opinions are on it, but to me, that's
my opinion is, you're born a boy, you're born a girl. I mean, if that's what the Almighty God chose for you, that's your place in life. That's your place in the world. Hey, you wanna be a girl and you're really a boy. Like my mom said a long time ago, Brad, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
And
like I was just saying, I'm not trying to discriminate against anybody. You have your own opinion. You have your own brain. You do what you friggin' want. My business is my business. Your business is yours. I mean, I had friends in school that, would fight and not agree that they were gay, but they end up turning out gay and stuff like that. And you know what? I never faulted them for that. But to me, to kind of push that stuff out in the world now, like my kids are learning about a lot of this stuff in school, that there's not necessarily genders and stuff like that. To me, that's wrong, because you're almost brainwashing them into that.
Pretty much.
I mean, I guess that's an opinion of mine, but to me, in the schooling system, they really should be just teaching stuff that they should be teaching, math and science and stuff like that, things that are out there. and this is not to sound racist or anything, but my, like my children are, two of my two oldest are in public school. The rest of them are actually homeschooled. The two that are in public school this year, they've really pushed Black history the whole year. They haven't learned anything else about history besides Black history.
Oh wow! So they're not learning anything about like the Revolutionary War, the 13 original colonies. They don't teach any of that.
No, and they haven't taught any of it from what I hear from my kids. Granted, I get my kids on weekends from my ex-wife and stuff. So I mean, I'm not all involved in their schooling stuff, but I do ask them every week, if what's going on and stuff. And basically what I've heard is any history classes has been Black history. I also know their school, they do not fly the American flag, but they do fly the Black Lives Matters flag. I feel very uncomfortable about that, to be honest with you.
That's wrong on so many levels where you fly first of all, let's set the record straight here. The Black Lives Matter is not a country emblem. It's a cultural flag.
Yep.
Okay. All right, guys, whoever's listening to the episode, that this is a cultural flag. It is not a country emblem. The American flag should be on that post or podium or hung wherever first before any other flag.
Yep.
It should be center mast. That's where it should be, in the center of all the other poles, right? The only time it gets lowered, when you lower the mast, if there's like obviously a funeral or somebody died of importance, then you lower it in honor of their death. But I mean, to put a Black Lives Matter flag in front of the American flag, oh boy.
Yeah.
That's telling you where our country is going, my friend.
Oh, it is. And at first when Black Lives Matter started coming out, before all the bad media and all a bunch of shit went on, their movement was not a bad movement. I mean, I'll admit it. It really wasn't a bad movement. But it ended up turning into a bad movement when they started rioting and they started destroying their own businesses in reality. I mean, they were destroying Black communities. I mean, they destroyed them into pieces. I mean, breaking windows, stealing stuff, and stuff like that. The problem was, the movement was great and all to start off with, but they got those bad apples in that movement and it ruined it. I mean, and you know what? A lot of people frown on, Trump supporters because of the, January 6th shit. You know what? There's a few bad apples there. That doesn't mean everybody's bad. So, I look at Black Lives Matter, I see what's going on within Black Lives Matters, and a lot of it's really, really bad. I do.
Well, it's a big spin. Yeah, it's a big spin-off of the Black Panthers, from the late 60s, early 70s. The same movement. It was about basically similarities. The Black Panthers were pretty much a group that were using that movement to fight against suppression against the black man during Vietnam War. You know, like, why are you putting the black man first on the fighting line before you would put the white man? Same shit, just similarities, yes, but same stuff in an aspect.
Yeah. And
it's all about political game, Brad. It always has been.
Oh yeah, and you look at the timeline of Black Lives Matter and stuff when they really kicked off. It was during political bullshit, is what it was, and they had agenda behind it. I mean, period. I mean, that's all there is to it. But if they kept the movement in the right direction, people might have followed it a little better. You still have your followers, but if you did what you really intended to do, you probably would have had a lot more followers, and shit wouldn't have gone so south. And that's my opinion. You got Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and all these other groups. I mean, you even have right-winging groups that got bad labels on them, and they probably should, really, because they're doing shit that's not necessary. I mean,
I don't care what race, color you are, what kind of group you represent. If you're going to loot a business, if you're going to burn flags, if you're going to, excuse me, if you're going to knock down statues that you might not agree with, you're a terrorist, man.
Oh no,
you belong in jail.
Absolutely.
You're not an American then. You're basically telling the country that you do not represent the country, and no matter, you do not like your country, and you belong in federal prisons, plain and simple. I mean,
that sums it up right there. If you don't agree with the history of the United States, then you're obviously mistaken. I mean, you're talking about statues and stuff that got torn down. A lot of those statues were put up for the history, so you learn from that history and you evolve from that history.
Every history has bad history. That's how you learn from it. You learn from what was done that was wrong, right? And you learn from it. You move on. You don't look in the past constantly. You don't nick and pick. I see that all the time. Oh, like Abraham Lincoln was a racist. Like, oh, what history book are you reading, Mal?
Yeah. I don't know about you, but when I grew up, Abraham Lincoln was really who helped free the slaves. I
thought he did that. Did he not?
Nowadays, I don't know. They've changed history. That's the sad part. They really have. The stuff I hear come out of my kid's mouth, I'm like, I was taught that completely different. What the hell's going on here?
It's all the cancel culture crap that's going on. Yep.
No, and that it is. There's so much of it going on.
Sooner or later, they're going to be telling the kids that farming is considered bigotry or some kind of nonsense like that.
Oh yeah, and probably sooner than later, honestly, because the way the farming industry is going on, who knows what the fuck's going to happen?
Oh yeah, they'll be calling you a modern slave if you go. Oh, you're a slave if you have to go farming. Why can't you just go to the grocery store and pick out your produce? Why do you have to do it on a farm? That's slavery.
What? Right. Let's genetically modify all our food and grow it in a lab and sell it in the store, more or less.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. But with that, I'll say we'll wind down the podcast a little bit here. Do you have any final thoughts you want to bring up or anything?
It's been a good an hour, a little over an hour. Yeah. So it's been good talking politics with you. It's been good, just kind of shooting the shit with you, Brad. It's been a while. I just want to say, guys, if you're new to listening to the U.S. Freedom Fighters, guys, give them a chance. They have a lot of good knowledge coming out. You do, Brad. You guys got a lot of good content on your group page, U.S. Freedom Fighters. And also your survivors page. It's good stuff, man.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. And I know you've mentioned us a lot on your podcast, and I really appreciate that. Tonight we talked a lot about the politics and stuff, and a lot of stuff that's going on in the world. But you know what? If you're into politics and stuff, great. But also you guys start thinking outside the box a little bit and thinking about survival. We don't touch a lot on politics on our podcast, but Michael Gardner, I know you touch on a lot on the Patriot Angle podcast. I also understand you're going to start branching out a little bit and doing some more stuff on podcasts. And I'm really excited to see what you come up with. And I will definitely kind of push our listeners to go check you out on your podcast. And we really appreciate you joining our show and being a supporter of U.S. Freedom Fighters.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. If I may, the book here, I'd like to plug it in if that's okay with you.
Oh, absolutely. Please do.
Yeah. Guys, I have a new book coming out, Can America Survive After Biden? Now, the original release date was supposed to be the 20th of February. Obviously, it's past the 20th. Had to order a copyright infringement laws for it. So the new release date will be around the 1st of March. So you're going to want to look out for that book, Can America Survive After Biden? A lot of content on it, guys. I highly suggest and recommend picking up this copy. It will be in ebook format, only exclusive on Amazon Kindle, and you can get it for $4.99.
And that's
keeping
good
it
deal.
really, really affordable, Brad, for everybody.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, $5, people. That ain't nothing in today's world. Pick it up, read it. But I would definitely like to thank you, Michael, for joining us today. I hope we can get together and do another podcast really soon. I always enjoy doing podcasts with you, and I would like to thank you for teaching me and Jerry a lot about podcasting. As you know, we're very new to it. You've helped us in a lot of ways, and I really appreciate it. So I hope we can get together soon and do another one, and maybe we can learn a little bit off each other.
Always, my friend. Yes, without a doubt.
And with that, I would like to say, please check out the Patriot Angle podcast with Michael Gardner. He's the founder. He gets into some really good subjects on his podcast, and you get a good mix of stuff. You'll learn a lot from it. Also, I'd like invite you guys to join U.S. Freedom Fighters. We're teaching a lot about survival. We do have some political stuff and some defensive stuff to teach you how to survive against anything that might come your way. And with that, I would like to thank you all and have a great night.
Thank you for listening to another U.S. Freedom Fighters podcast. Hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, please come find us at usfreedomfighters.com. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.